We are a culture, a mental health crisis. Compounded crises are when you're getting promoted and all of a sudden your mother has a health crisis. Or, you're looking at this succession and acquisition and all of a sudden you realize your kid needs you more present. I've often been told, you're so intense. And when I actually just embraced my intensity, and I was like, that's me. Think of people you want to love bomb. Send just an exploding bit of joy to someone in your life and then watch what happens. Success is this. If you do this, you'll be happy. If you get this, you'll be on the other side. And those might be true for other people, but they're not our story, right?
This is the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast. My name is Rick Meekins. I'm the managing partner at Epiphany Business Consulting and your host for today. I am so delighted to have you in the studio. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new episode. Now let's get it started. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast. My name is Rick Meekins. I'm going to be your host, and in the studio, we have Dr. Camille Preston. How are you?
Oh, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yes, I am as well. And you were just traveling. What have you been up to?
Oh my goodness. You're catching me. I'm feeling very alive and excited. Just back from a 3-day book tour, 7 events in DC, and just really reconnected to why right now is such an important time to really start to think about living real. The time is now. And I'm excited for this conversation because you have people who are always tuning into you to figure out what's the mindset I need to live real, be more present, be more engaged. I'm fired up.
Let's get it. We are going to be talking about living real. Folks, if you haven't done it, do me a favor. If you would, hit the like and subscribe button so you get updates every time we drop a new episode. Now, without further ado, let's get it started. So, Camille, can you give us a little bit of background, who you are, what you do, and why you do what you do?
In a nutshell, I'm a business psychologist. I've had AIM leadership for over 22 years, and I work with executives who often come to me in a compounded crisis, right? Multiple things are happening at the same time, and they've been incredibly successful, but they're saying, wait a minute, what's that next thing, that next mindset shift that's going to help me level up and really drive forward? So compounded crises are when you're getting promoted and all of a sudden your mother has a health crisis, or, you're looking at this succession and acquisition and all of a sudden you realize your kid needs you more present. Or what's happening in so many workplaces now, it's like the business is growing and thriving, we're moving forward, and then there's this workplace disruption or AI is coming in. So we're all in compounded crises right now. And it's all about how is it that I take care of myself and grow myself so that I'm more capable and competent to be able to lead and ignite the change we're all passionate about.
Yeah, absolutely. You had your own story like that, right?
Yeah. I actually the book came out of, I had 5 deaths in 5 months. And it was so humbling because when you have that many that fast, it's almost like you don't have a choice but to stop. And for that, I'm really grateful. For audience members who are listening, I got that phone call from the emergency room and my most beloved elder they had picked him up. He'd had a stroke and he was wandering kind of aimlessly trying to find help. And that led to, a week in the neuro ICU and a week in hospice. And it really changed me, fundamentally changed so many parts of my core soul. And I think it's a story of hope though, because it really, when you give yourself space and time to fully process, metabolize, engage, and be present with all of it, we come out different. We engage differently. So for everybody who's going through something now, there's massive possibility. If it feels like a breakdown right now, I just urge you to grow yourself because with every breakdown has the potential for a breakthrough.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, I hear the story. It's like we have this idea. We have control. We're doing the thing. We've got the kids where they need to be. And it's just like we've got this routine, and then boom, something happens. Something critical happens. Just like, oh my gosh, and you're real. You know what I mean? You don't necessarily know what to do because it's not in the playbook. And you go to other people and people can't always relate to what you're going through. And, they'll have like the 3 best ideas or whatever. But how did you deal with this? What was your process?
That's a great question. And to just put a point on what you said, the second chapter in the book is all about the illusions, all the things we bought into. success is this. If you do this, you'll be happy. If you get this, you'll be on the other side. And those might be true for other people, but they're not our story, right? They're not our opportunity to clarify. And yet we're running so hard and fast. We often don't take time to step back and say, what does success mean for me? What does happiness mean for me? Who are the people I love the most and want to be present with the most? And I was really grateful. I had someone in my life who was way ahead of me. And he said, tell your husband you love him. He's got to carry a little bit more of the load, that you're going to take a step back. And I think of it as almost metabolizing grief, giving myself permission to really feel it and be in it. I think if I were to add another story, when this loved one was in the hospital, psychologist, every time I met a new one of his caregivers, I would understand who they were. And then I would try to tell them a story about him that would resonate for them, something about him that would make them fall in love with him. And 2 weeks, round the clock care, I had a lot of caregivers and I told a lot of stories. And what I realized is when I got home, I wasn't done telling stories. Like, he was such a magnificent person. I rarely repeated the stories. But the world was like, dude, it's been a couple days. Like, are you going to do the soccer carpool or not? Like, when is this, and it was interesting. So all of a sudden I was like craving those real conversations about something I loved so fiercely. And it really clarified how I want to be with other people in my life. Like, I want to be fully present with those people. But it really helped me see who has the capacity to hold this level of complexity. And I realized so many of us are struggling, but there's so much complexity in our world now. I mean, just think of what we as a country are navigating. It's intense, immense. Yeah. Have you been through something of that? I mean, you've raised 5 kids. You probably had a fair amount of roller coaster ups and downs and being present with them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's my mother-in-law died, and it was unexpected. It was like, one minute we're sitting there, next minute, my sister-in-law is on the phone screaming. It's just like, oh my gosh, and it's there's not a question of, are we going to or anything like that. It's drop everything, we're on the road within, I don't know, 12 hours or something like that. And, as you said, the world goes on. My clients still had needs, there were still other responsibilities had to be taken care of. And it's just like, no, we're going to stop. We're going to get off. We're going to do the thing that we need to do. We're going to regroup, and of course, it's like, I'm the oldest, like, of like all the siblings, like all of her siblings and my siblings. And so there's this responsibility of shepherding that I have to do. That's, I mean, even if it's quietly stated, the expectation is that, hey, you know what, Rick's gonna be that rock. Whatever happens, it's gonna, we can lean on him and keep making things go forward. So it's like, it's you become a person, and what I mean by that is, we think about ourselves, okay, and I'm an entrepreneur in this bucket, I'm a father in this bucket, you know what I'm saying? But then, when these things happen, you become a unit, and everything has to align, or you can't handle it. You can't manage it. You can't authentically show up.
Yeah. So it's the pressure or the tension of the moment that creates a new level of consciousness,
Hmm.
right? We don't think we're training for these things, but when we're put in those moments, we get to level up and see another side of ourselves. And what I'm hearing is maybe it's because you're the oldest, or maybe it's because you handle tension, right? You handle complexity that you were able to. And for people who are listening, I think that it's absolutely part of death, but it's also part of lots of normal things. I had a very good friend went through a divorce this summer, and a mutual friend of ours had a sudden death of her husband 6 months earlier. And he said, it's really interesting. She got all this empathy and support. And I feel like I have the same amount of grief and much more loss, and not much more loss, very different, more complicated loss. And he said, the world has lots of like rules of like, she can grieve, but I can't. Like, somehow she's innocent and I'm not, right? Like, there's
Yeah,
all these things. So if you're feeling grief, I would just say, be gentle on yourself. We are not, especially entrepreneurs, because we're gritty and we pull ourselves up from our bootstraps and we like push onward. Be
yeah.
gentle. Give yourself a little grace. And it sounds like you did that beautifully with your mother-in-law.
I don't know. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, I struggle with that a little bit. That's that whole self-care thing. I've got this, I don't know, this shepherding personality. It's just like, okay, I'm gonna, take care of the flock. I'm gonna take care of the people that I'm responsible for, and kind of put myself last. And I enjoy it. I take that ownership, but it certainly has its drawbacks. You know what I mean?
Are you open? Can we go a little deeper?
Let's dive in.
Yeah. Okay. So one thing is it's a success strategy, right? For whatever reason, it's worked for you many times. By putting other people first, you've been rewarded or reinforced. So, like, not only are we told in our society, but there's some kind of conditioning in it. And yet we don't see the costs. So I was just doing a keynote with a group of incredibly passionate CEOs that are their industry is in a compounded crisis. Like the entire industry is being disrupted. And these are smart people, like extensive education, top of their game, like not just leaders in their institutions, but in their communities. And we spent a lot of time talking about chronic stress and
Hmm.
how we are a society that gets really activated, and a crisis can be incredibly clarifying, right? We're firing on all cylinders, we're solving problems, we're moving forward, we're decisive, we're in service. That sometimes it's become a little bit of the new normal. And people, we're really, there's an opportunity to step back. And for audience members who are listening, that you're saying, yeah, I get Rick, I'm always diving on the sword for others. The research is incredibly compelling. Leaders who are dysregulated, so not managing their stress, not processing it, create dysregulated organizations. And you
Interesting.
see that in their team performance, you see that in the organizational culture, you see that in the turnover. I mean, it's incredibly powerful. It's incredibly powerful. Most people have a hard time, you know, putting on their own oxygen mask before helping others around them.
Hmm.
And no, it's so important. What are some of the things you do to take care of yourself? What are some of
I go to the gym. That's the most important thing. I mean,
non-negotiable? Yeah.
I go on vacation. I'm like, okay, how far is the gym? Can we get there? That's critical. I meditate, and I meditate, multiple times throughout the day. I'll stop sometimes and just do, just some breath work. I'll put some music on and just say, okay, we're gonna step. The coolest thing I wasn't aware of is going out in the sun. I just go out in the sun and stand out there for 5 or 10 minutes. Might have my music on, just being quiet, but just kind of just sucking in that sunlight. It's a game changer.
Sunlight, nature, total game changer. Yeah. So cool.
No shoes on the
Well, there
grass.
you go. Well, we're in different geographies, so I can do that now. I'm not sure in a couple of months. I love it. I love it. It's awesome that you have those self-care. And
What do you do?
it's funny. I have a strong meditation practice, and I always say that I always pause before I say that because for a very long time, I knew I should have a meditation practice. And when I heard someone else had a meditation practice, I was like, oh, damn. Right. But give yourself grace on that. I'm a runner. Like I love exercise, but that running is that space. And I think one of my like strategies is I get up early because while I'm extroverted, I need alone time and I need that space for myself and love my family, love my husband. But if I feed myself in the morning, my soul, my energy, whether it's stretching or meditating or breathing or creative writing, all of a sudden I'm just a better person out there. And so it was kind of funny to come off as I'm coming off this book tour and I'm in the middle of the book tour, I should say. And just figuring out how you put those pieces together when you're
Hmm.
not normal habits is pretty fun.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely put the time and energy. I was like, I'm gonna figure this thing out. I would get in trouble. I remember we went on a vacation once, and we were in Cocoa Beach, and the gym was like, I think it was like 40 minutes away. And I still went, and I got back and I got in trouble.
Yeah, different type of challenges, different
It's
type of
like,
challenges.
this is my thing. You just don't understand. This has to happen. But yeah, that is.
I will even like for people who want to do more of this, the person who helps me with my travel, she will
Mhm.
often request that my hotel room is on the same floor as the gym. It's like one less thing I have to do. Like I don't have to deal with the elevator, right? Like those little tiny micro shifts, they really
Yes.
matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now tell me something. Let's go back and let's talk a little bit about coming back. We talked a little bit about the basement when we talked earlier. You want to go into that? You want to give our audience a little bit of understanding and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
perspective on that?
So one of the key concepts in the book is this idea that we as a society, as a culture, as humanity are shallowing. When we have hard things, when we navigate complex things or uncomfortable emotions, we often will pull out a box and put all those emotions in the box, put some duct tape on it, and put it in our metaphoric basement, being like, I'll deal with that later. And what we don't realize is that every time we put something in the basement, we put something on a box on the second floor of our house, which basically takes up space. So over time, we have no room in the basement, can't go down, and we have no ability to go to the second floor. So our lives shallow and they might look simple and they might look pretty, but we are a culture with epidemic level. We're in a mental health crisis. Like we have loneliness like we've never seen, depression like we've never seen, anxiety like we've never seen, burnout. And I believe it's a result of shallowing. We are losing our ability to process hard emotions. We're losing our ability to connect deeply with one another. We have less depth in our relationships. And so we have fewer resources to turn to. And so if this all feels a little abstract for people, think about social media. You look at social media and all you see is other people's highlight reels. You look at like everything that's going right in their world and you contrast it with your bloopers, right? Like all the stuff that you never want to show anyone. And so then all of a sudden we're like, this is what the normal world is like, but it's not. It's just
Yeah.
their highlight reel. And and so I think we have unconsciously shallowed our relationships. And what we crave now more than anything is what I'm calling reeling, being able to be in the hard and the messy and in the delight. And that's like, if we can start to build our comfort to hold complexity, if we can hold the tension, we can create new levels of consciousness, new ways of thinking about this. How do we solve these problems? But when we put everything in a box and tuck it away and then keep it nice, yeah.
You have to dig into that a little bit more. Yeah,
More.
it's like you open up the box, the Pandora's box. It's just like there's a whole lot to unpack there. I mean, the mental health piece of that in and of itself, but you're getting into loneliness, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's I how do we pick one of those and let's talk about how how it could be addressed, what it could look like to
Yeah.
move to that other side, perhaps.
So, like a simple kind of, or I don't want to say simple, but an accessible one is that people who are on social media often feel like they are connecting with people, right? They're seeing what's happening in Joe's life and Sally's life, and they're connected, but they have no emotional connection, right? You're just watching their lives.
Yeah,
And there's something that happens when we're together with people. And especially when we're in interpersonal, you and I are looking each other in the eye by technology, but when we're together and we're having a connection, it changes our neurochemistry, right? You're changing me, I'm changing you. There's a synergy back and forth. Like when I feel the gravity of your mother-in-law's death, and even more so the weight or the responsibility that you carry, I feel that. And I have a part of me that's like, yeah, there's places I carry a lot of weight in my family and I'm the youngest. Sometimes I get resentful, right? Like, and so we have this interaction and an exchange. I'm learning about you, the highs and the low, like the lows of your mother-in-law's death, but the highs of like your siblings count on you. When they call you, you drop everything, right? So there's a low and a high, and there's an exchange that happens. But when we're doing that in a transaction, you might just see what I've decided is okay for you to see, right? Like
yeah,
this is what I want Rick to see. This is what I'm going to share. So I personally believe a lot of this happened unconsciously. Like I don't believe people chose to shallow. I think it's a consequence of technology. What we know is that 1 in 8 people are lonely on a daily basis. And loneliness is the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Like there are massive health consequences of loneliness. And it's, yeah. And so then the question is, how do you start? If you've had a grief that you haven't necessarily navigated, start small. Set a timer. You might set a timer for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then you might sit down with a pen and paper and say, what do I love about that person? You journal, or you spend 15 minutes looking at photos, or you spend 15 minutes thinking about how you're different as a result of that person. But then you can close it up. A lot of times people don't go into hard emotions because they don't necessarily know where to start and how to engage. And yet when we start and open it, when you touch your own grief, then you see someone who's in grief, you're gonna be like, "Oh, I know what that feels like. I have a lived sense of it," right?
I was while you were talking about social media and the connections, I was just thinking back about being on LinkedIn, and I find myself getting stressed, just going through like all of these all these messages, and it's like they're just so shallow, they're just so surface level beyond buy my stuff, but it's like, how are you doing, Rick? Oh, by the way, I noticed blah blah blah. You should buy, and it's like it sucks a lot of energy out of me, to be honest with you. I love doing this,
Yeah,
and I meet like wonderful people like you, and we have relationships sometimes. It's just like, I'm just like, hey, Camille, what are you up to? And that's important to me.
yeah.
But the LinkedIn thing, I mean, is that unique to me? Is that something that a lot of people experience that?
And so one of the things I'm the youngest of 3, and so I maybe wasn't the sharpest pencil because I was probably 4 before I realized that I was younger than my siblings, but I just learned you have to keep up, right? Like, you don't wanna be left behind, you gotta keep up. And so I think a lot about micro shifts. What's 1 unit of energy that can deliver 100 units of change? 1 unit of energy, 100 units of change. And a lot of times it's really small things. I was traveling, I had a ride to the airport, and a really good friend of mine introduced me to this idea of a voice memo, like just doing a love bomb. And and so, it was an hour that I was not gonna be calling people or not be I was not gonna be calling people if I wanted them to save my friend.
Yeah.
And I just spent the time thinking about, like, who do I love? Who do I miss? Like, who is it that's changed me and had a real impact on me? And how do I leave them a little love bomb of, like, how I'm thinking of them in the moment? And so I dropped, like, man, I was busy. I dropped, like, 20 of them, and I was, like, just people I love who've had a huge impact on me. And then I got to the airport and I was like, "Whoa, I haven't even had a cup of coffee. This is good." So that's like, there's sadness that I haven't seen them maybe, but there's love, right? And it's like the full range of it.
Yeah.
Is that helpful?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's funny you say that because I literally did that this morning. It was somebody I hadn't spoken to in months. It was just like, hey, you know what? You had this impact on my life. Thank you so much. Blah blah blah, and just like hung up and went away.
Yeah, I love
But
it.
it's love it because like she didn't she knew it was coming, and it's just like boom.
Yeah. Maybe that becomes a challenge we offer to all the listeners. Like, think of people you want to love bomb. Send just an exploding bit of joy to someone in your life, and then watch what happens. Like, it's a ripple. Just like dysregulated leaders create dysregulated organizations, compassionate, heart-centered, loving, centered, present, real leaders have the same impact. And people are craving connection right now. People are craving hope and possibility, but they have to know who you are to be willing to open into that.
Here's a question for you. I was speaking to a friend of mine yesterday, and we were talking about doing that sort of thing and identifying kind of who it's for. So it's like, I send out the message. Is it so that I'll get it reciprocated, or is it just genuinely, hey, I want to send you some love? What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's a great question. I mean, so I always think about being in service. But let's
Uh-huh.
be honest, it feels great to drop a love bomb, right? It feels great because you're activating all this juice inside you and the goodness inside you about this person, right? So, I mean, if you're only dropping love bombs because it feels good for you, maybe that's not a bad thing. But I think it should. I mean, it's designed to be in service and a gift. And I think if it activates goodness in you, that's great. I think if you're giving with the expectation of a hook of getting something, that's actually taking, right? So that's
I
the
agree.
distinction you're, yeah.
I agree. I agree. It's
Your
like
smile makes me, you got it.
I think I was talking to one of my kids. I was like, you don't say I love you waiting for someone to say it back to you. You say it because you mean it, because that's what you want them to feel. You want them to get a little bit of juice from you. So yeah, I
Yeah.
absolutely agree with that. Absolutely agree with that. We talked about, oh, I lost my train of thought again. I hate when that happens. We were
I would just say that one of the things I'm most proud of is I grew up in a family where love was present, but it was never
okay.
spoken. And my kids are so funny. They're like every night, they're like, "Mommy, I love you. I'll see you tomorrow. Mommy, I love you." Like, and like if they don't get a response from me, they'll get out of bed and be like,
That is so sweet. That is so sweet. One of the big things that you talk about is, and I'm going to take a little bit of a leap here, but the paradigm shift. I'm a whatever type of leader, whatever type of person, I'm hard charging, um, and you're guiding people from being that focused on whatever success looks like, whatever fed into us, to like an authentic life. Talk to me about what that transition is like, and maybe if you've got a story, maybe if you've got someone that you can tell us about, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah. So let me just make sure I'm getting it. How I help people transition into a more holistic, genuine aspect of themselves.
The realness, yeah.
The realness.
Sorry, I couldn't make that more
No,
complex.
that's all
I'll
good.
try to make it more complex next time.
I get so excited that I'm like, well, I could tell them this story or this story or this story. It's funny. I've been doing this for 22 plus years. Um, I used to consider myself a secret agent for love. Like I always thought I'd be just like I was working in corporate America, but I was like trying to activate love. And then I thought a little bit about it and I thought like maybe I'm a doula, a relationships doula. Right. So doulas are people who are in the birthing room and help you make that transition after all these well, actually in the middle of this series after the first two deaths, became a death doula. I just got certified. Not sure I'm going to use it, but I was curious about supporting people in transitions because that's what I do is help people navigate this transition. And I really think reeling is about creating a container, creating a mindset, creating a space where people can step more fully into relationship.
Mm,
And it's a little counterintuitive, but it starts with yourself. We're so good at listening outward in the world and thinking what other people want us to do
yeah.
that we often don't listen inward. And when we do listen inward, it's like, you should have done this. You could have done this. Why didn't you do this? Wait a minute. You should have done 5 more reps at the gym. Where's the milk? Like that chatter is so loud. So one of the things that I do a lot is turning down the volume of the chatter and turning up the volume of who you are and how you navigate. Now, I have 1,000 examples I could share, but one that's really personal and I know I can share is about myself. And so passionate about what I do. I've often been told you're so intense, and intense was never a good thing, right? Like it was too much. And I remember being like, well, I just have so much. I want to serve. I want to give. I want to go out in the world. And when I actually just embraced my intensity and I was like, yeah, totally spot on. That's me. And I learned to do it inward within myself.
Hmm.
It was just game changing. And so an example of it is it's in the book, but December 8th, I woke up at 4 a.m. It was like knock, knock, knock. Like source, spirit, God, whatever your belief is. I had like downloaded an entire outline for this book. It was
Nice.
4 a.m. and I said, no thanks. 2 kids, 2 books, I'm out. And
What?
I rolled over and it was like, knock, 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 knock. It's like, okay, if I'm meant to do this, make it clear, make it easy. And there's just like all these things aligned. And I was like, it kept on opening. I was like, okay, if I'm meant to bring this into the world, make it easy. And then I had a like pretty crummy half draft. And it's like February 11th. And this person, again, the person I mentioned earlier, I said, so if I was going to publish this, when would be the ideal time for it to go out in the world? He didn't even pause. He didn't even hesitate. Oh, he said, it really needs to be out by June 9th. Now, if you've ever published a book, like,
That's specific.
it's crazy, crazy. And my thing that was like head to the ground, if I'm meant to do this and it's meant to happen that way, like make it clear, make it easy. And I'm not going to lie, it wasn't easy. It was not easy at all. But I found this side of myself that I was like, wow, that intensity focused creates incredible intimacy. So intensity into intimacy. And it was, I'm not gonna lie, it was hard. And I was so blessed by an amazing partner who my husband just believed in it. And he believed in it so much that he took a red eye home from our winter break with our kids with a broken leg and single parented for 10 days while I was writing. He didn't know it was broken at the time, but like he was a real partner in supporting us. I'm super blessed. But I share that story because I think we're all in transition. All AIM leadership actually stands for Awaken Inner Mastery. And we're all in the process of opening even more fully to who we are and the work we're meant to do in the world and the impact we want to have. And yeah, we're scaling businesses and there's bottom lines and budgets. And we're here in this world to serve others in a way and have an impact and an imprint. And when we give and feed that, we get back so much more, so much more. It's kind of actually crazy. And I'll say one other thing. I was walking down the street in Bethesda, Maryland, and I was headed to a meeting at Marriott and at a client. And I've been trying to solve this question. We've been launching a technology. My father died when I was pregnant with my daughter, but I often will check in and be like, how does he think I'm doing? Like, how does he feel about the work I'm doing? And I think he would be disappointed that most of my clients are high net worth people, that I'm expensive or what have you. And so we've been building out a technology that can really help middle managers and can get all of these ideas accessible to people who are just really committed to being better leaders, better parents, better servants in their community, what have you. And so this technology we're building out, if you're interested, you can send me an email at AIM Leadership. We'll get you a copy of the beta. I literally am like trying to noodle on this problem. Who can solve it? Who can solve it? And I'm going through like all these mental, and then finally I was like, got it. I can't figure it out. Could you just connect me with someone who can help me answer these questions? And I'm walking along and I look at my phone and there's someone on LinkedIn was like, hey, Camille, I just wanted to follow up. I really want to meet you. And I was like, it was like 23 seconds. I was like, yeah, I get it. Right. And that goes back to what you said earlier. Like we are not in control and we want to have a mission. We want to have a direction and we want to know where we're going and we want to have purpose. Like we are part of a larger network of good.
Yeah, 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 definitely, definitely. How do you feel? I have different conversations, different perspectives on purpose. How do you feel people discover or get aligned with their purpose?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think it's really hard to set out and say, okay, I'm going to figure out my values. I'm going to clarify my purpose today. I might even come up with a mission statement because we have so much pressure around that. We get contracted. And I think um, Elizabeth Gilbert said this really, really well. So I often encourage people to think about, when are you most enlivened? Like, when are you fired up and you like pop out of bed and you like, like you wake up and you're like, I got to go do this. Like those moments where you feel like you're firing on all cylinders, maybe you're in flow, your head, heart, body's connected. Like just make a list of those and then go ask friends and say, when do you see me like this? Because if you pull those data points together, heck, you could probably create a survey send it out to your friends and put in ChatGPT, and ChatGPT will be like, this is your purpose. But we have these lived experiences.
Hmm.
We we wrap ourselves around the axis when we think about the purpose, like what is my purpose, as opposed to saying, when am I most enlivened? What do I have that's really unique, that really it's like 1 + 1 = 6. You know that feeling when you're in that space. Is that yeah, I can see that
Yeah.
smile.
Yeah, it was, and it was important and it was interesting because it was important to I love to educate, equip, and inspire people. And I love to help people become the best versions of themselves. Just go out and do the thing and let's make it big. Let's make it awesome. That drives me. I get up in the morning, I'm just like, let's do this. I'm giggling because like you catch me on a bad day, you make that phone call, it's like, Rick, I got a problem. And we're gonna work this thing out. It's interesting because it's evolved, over time as well. And I really appreciate that, from, being a consultant and doing that to doing this, which is a different platform where we get to invite, again, great folks like you in to help influence a much, much larger audience. And I just find it so important. I mean, this is the thing that I get up. Okay, I got, 4 podcasts this week. Let's go do the thing. And it's not stressful. You know what I mean?
It's like something you look forward to.
It is. It is. It is. And the weird thing is, I'm an introvert, and it's just like, why am I podcasting? I'm an introvert. I'm not supposed to do that.
The research, because you're talking to a business psychologist, I can't
There you
lose. Um,
go.
introverts are actually, they like conversations. What you don't want to do is go to a cocktail party where there's like
Yes,
47 people, right? It's the opportunity to connect deeply.
it is. You're absolutely right. But after doing 2 podcasts in a
Yeah.
day, I'm wiped out. I'm
Yeah,
done.
there you go. You go to the gym. That's great. Yeah.
Talk to me about, and I imagine this is part of your work, is how does I guess this is a two-part question. So how does one learn that they don't love themselves, and then how do they learn how to love themselves?
That's a great question. That's a great question. I'm gonna answer it with a little bit of a story. Oh, I was approaching the 20-year anniversary of my company, and I went out and I, reached out to clients I'd worked with sometimes like 17, 18 years ago, and I had all these conversations, and I recorded the conversation so I could look at the transcripts and just enjoy the conversation, and then I had these deaths. Like, I couldn't I couldn't read the transcript. I couldn't do any of it. What was so fascinating to me was, I'm not gonna lie, I went into those conversations being like, "What was the ROI of our work? How did our work transform your business? What's happening?" And there was some it didn't turn out that way. Some people brought their entire family to the call. And
Wow.
they said, "Camille, we have Camilleisms, like, at our family dinner table, and, like, everybody wants to meet you." And this was, like, 17 years later. One guy brought his son. He's like, "My son was a psychology major, and this is what he's doing because of you." Another person was like, I was always so embarrassed about my introversion, and not only did I master that for my own business, but I was able to parent this child differently." And so, it was a funny experience because it was a transformation for me. I grew up in a family that was like, "Show me your worth. How do you make an impact? Like, what's the ROI?" And I had to really listen that it was so much deeper than that. So that's my own journey. The other thing I heard from these conversations was people said, "I came to you to be a better leader, to have a bigger impact, to take on a bigger role." But what I realized is I'm a better person as a result of it. Like, I like who I am as a result of our work, which wasn't the ROI my older or younger self was looking for. Um, and sometimes that I need to get this, I wanna be this, is a less developed version of ourselves. We're looking at other people's metrics of success, and we're judging ourselves because we haven't met that metric, as opposed to saying, like, "What is it about me that's really unique and inspired and different and, like, has the capacity to change?" So, self-loathing is something that a lot of therapists talk about. It's probably someone would say, "Well, I'm not self-loathing," but you're probably pretty we're all pretty critical of ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And or we have imposter syndrome, or we have all these things, and so I think there's something really powerful about, um, you can't say it in a corporate setting, but just loving on someone and, like, being this container that holds that person and giving them kind of unconditional love in a way that we often maybe didn't experience, and then all of a sudden realizing that's a enclosed loop. Actually, it's funny, I'm just seeing this sticker on my desk. We created this sticker, which is a for people who are just listening, it's a heart, but it has green arrows around as if it's by recycling. I mean, that's life, right? As if can you create this renewable, cyclical part of life? For people who are listening and are saying, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I gotta get back to my business. I gotta deliver money." When you are able to fully love yourself, you can fully love your staff, you can fully love your kids, you can fully love your partner. It is like that one shift that unlocks so much that will return so much that you can't even imagine. And so it's a little counterintuitive. And I will also say that I never say this to my clients. Some of the people get it, but most people experience more self-love, but that's not that's never an explicit part of the conversation. Does that make sense?
I think so. I think so. I
Like,
think so.
it's not what people think they want or need. Like, it's kind of
Yeah.
evolved. Yeah.
It's I found it hard. When I was, someone literally said that to me, recently. It was like, "Rick, you gotta love yourself." I'm like, "Well, what are you talking about?" It's like, it was just, it was interesting. I think I'm still working through it, to be honest with you.
What mindset shifts supported you?
Well, I mean, that's as I was so busy, like, looking out for other people that I wasn't really looking out for myself. It's like, yeah, I get up, I go to the gym, I do the meditation, et cetera, but, there was just such a drive to make sure that everyone was okay that I wasn't really managing, some of my own deficiencies, as well as I could have or probably should have.
Mm,
It's that thing where it's like, I see the log in somebody else's eye, but, I'm not paying attention to, the one in my
right.
own eye. And it's interesting as a process because it's requiring surrender and letting go and even letting other people nurture me and love on me, which is something that I wasn't, probably still not, as accustomed to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And so just to pull the thread back of all those deaths, I didn't really have a choice but to do that, right? Like it happens so often. I'm curious, what do you do? Like, how do you operationalize that? Isn't the right term, but like, what are the routines or habits that you have to practice that? Like, how are you building that self love, that surrender into
It's
your life?
it's I'll be perfectly honest with you. I mean, it's challenging because there are, I guess, beliefs that I have. So one of the things that's happened to me is I've got an injury in my lower back. And so um one of the people I was speaking to was saying, you've got to learn how to, and she was like being quite literal about it, but she's like, you gotta kind of tell your body parts that you love it and you care about it and they're going to be okay and stuff like that. And I'm just like, that is just the weirdest thing in the world. I'm not going to do that. But then, I did go back and I just started massaging like the areas. It was just like, I was grateful. It's like, you know what? I've had my, just being silly, but I've had my foot, for 54 years and it's gotten me from here to from there to here, and just like going through this whole process. It was interesting, it wasn't a bad thing, and I'll probably do it again.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a great example of slowing down and going inward, right?
Yeah.
Like you can have an entire dialogue with all the different parts.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's the weirdest thing in the world, but you know what? I feel better off as a result of it.
Yeah. There's a saying when the head and the heart are in conflict, it often shows up in the body.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
it's often something that will slow you down to integrate, right? And, I notice it in myself when my hips get tight, it's oftentimes some kind of anger that I've been like pushing down, right? So again, this is another example of listening inward. You're doing a great job being like, okay, what is calling my attention? You're like, my lower back. It's powerful.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's like I said, it's a complete shift for me. So I'm going through the process, and I'm submitting to it. I'm committed to the journey because I feel like I will be better off. Feel like those that I love, will be better off as well. So.
So I'll tell you a funny story. I was doing this keynote in DC and it was my first time having a security detail. Now I used
Mm,
to work for the State Department in Africa and would have security details there. And I did a lot of work with law enforcement. So I'm comfortable with that type of people. I just wasn't expecting it.
mhm,
And because I'm curious and that's what I do, pattern recognition. I ended up having a conversation with these gentlemen who were part of this detail, and they were three former Navy SEALs. And so we were having a conversation and it was interesting. At one point, there was just one of them and he said, we've had a recent suicide in the SEALs. And he was like talking about the grief, and the SEALs are actually a great example of reeling. Like everything is so unbelievably real and the relationships are so authentic and everybody knows everything about everybody because it's like your life depends on it.
yeah,
And then you go out into the civilian world and it's really the shallowing is like almost like massively amplified. So we had this conversation and then a little bit later I came up and I said, this is really crazy. But have you guys been tracking this new SOP for SEALs when they come back from traumatic experiences? Because I have done some work with the SEALs. And they have this process now called neurogenic tremoring. And the idea is that when you see an animal or a kid and they go through something really scary, they
mhm,
shake. They just do this kind of like shakedown. And what they're doing is resetting their nervous system. And it doesn't have to go through talk therapy. It doesn't have to be journaled. It doesn't have to be processed or put words on it. It's just a physiological way that you can reset your nervous system. And so that's a practice that I do. Every time I'm brewing a cup of coffee, I do my like shaking because it's such a powerful way to literally say, what am I carrying that I don't need? Let me send it down to the earth. I believe that like compost that and come back with problems, but it resets my nervous system on a regular basis to come back to what I love. Depending on how
I
much
love that.
coffee I have.
Well, you'll have to give us a video of that so we can put it on your show notes page.
I would love we'll do that, we'll do that. It's funny, I'm slowly becoming more comfortable with it.
Uh-huh.
I obviously, I practice it a lot, and I had one, client, an Israeli CEO who, said, I went to Miraval and they taught me this thing shaking," and I started telling him all about it. He's like, "WTF, why aren't you teaching me this?" So now I'm more bold about bringing that out to the world, but yeah, all these things are powerful, just like the gratitude for your foot. It's really
Yeah,
so
yeah,
powerful.
yeah. We need these things. We need these things. Let's talk. We're just about out of time. Can we talk about your book real quick?
Yeah.
Tell us about it. What is it? What it's about? How do we get it?
Awesome. So you can go to livingreal.aimleadership.com and you can buy it there. You can download the first chapter. You can get a bunch of questions and reflections. And the book really, again, came out of this desire to have a more full range of emotions. But what I'm realizing and why I think it needed to come out in June is because it speaks so powerfully to what we're navigating politically, economically, workplace disruption, return to work, AI. It's about how do I see life fully in all the multi-dimensions? How do I build myself, build my capacity to hold complexity, to hold the tension with the idea that if I can hold it and be present to all of that's happening, I'll be able to generate better solutions, better ideas, be able to serve in a higher way. So we're so passionate about this. We are on a book tour. We're having lots of conversations with executives who are so passionate about rethinking how is it that they're managing energy? What is the culture and expectations about transparency and honesty? And then how do they show up as more genuine, authentic, integrated, impactful leaders? So we're on fire. I got to tell you, I had no idea when I wrote it in that sprint, I had no idea what was coming, and we're so excited. So livingreal@aimleadership.com. And if you're interested in the technology, which is a mobile app that can really help you put all these practices that we've talked about into place, email us at aimup@aimleadership.com and we'll make sure you get a copy of that. We're so excited to be sharing that.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. It sounds awesome. I've got to get myself a copy. I'm just gonna have to do that. And we'll get all that information on your show notes. So anybody that goes to the page will be able to get access to those. Is there anything else you want to leave our audience with before we call it a day?
Well, massive gratitude for you. This has been a really fun conversation.
Likewise.
And I know we listen to podcasts and we're really like, we can be all inspired, whether we're on a run or the gym or our commute. And then the most important thing is turn ideas into action. Think of one micro shift, one thing you're going to do that's going to fill you up, that's going to fuel you, that's going to help you be a better version of yourself. And if it's just turning down the volume of the critic and turning up the volume of your inner wisdom, that's awesome. If it's committing to learning, you do you, but give yourself the gift of turning this conversation into one thing you're going to do to serve yourself. And follow us on LinkedIn because we'll share more and more. We're excited for all those conversations. Thank you. What an honor. What a pleasure.
It's a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This has been great. This has been absolutely fantastic. Hey, folks, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast. Make sure you check out the next episode. We'll catch you next time.